Now, Sudan's military leader, Gen Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, has called for the United Nations to support the country's transitional government. The coup led by the military leader, Gen Burhan, in October led to the overthrow of the transitional government and the ousting of Prime Minister Abdalla Hamdok. The military leader says it will cooperate with the ousted civilian Prime Minister who was reinstated in November after signing a deal. The Army General says it will support the transitional government Mr. Hamdok forms until elections are held. Now, joining me now to discuss the situation in Sudan, which is of great concern to the United Nations, is a global affairs analyst, Amuda Mosigbodi. Thank you so much for joining us on The World Now. Do you see the United Nations responding to the call by the military leader, Gen Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, to support the transitional government in this regard?
Well, for me, thank you so much for having me. I think first one must understand why the military is trying so hard to ensure that they get the support of the United Nations and the AU in this instance. Don't forget that the whole thing started in 2019 when al-Bashir was ousted and the military and the civilian government were made to, in a way, maybe we will call that share apart. But there's been this friction between the military and the civilians, the civilian administration since then. In fact, there have been allegations and counter-allegations from both sides. And so the coup that happened in October did not come as a shock. Now, why does the military need international support? There seems to be a global trend now that the whole world is on the neck of the military against, having the military double or delve into governance, and so they are doing all this to ensure that they get the support of the global community as well as attain the level of legitimacy. Now, don't also forget that there are a series of protests going on in Sudan against the ousting of the Prime Minister, and even in spite of his what we would call the backdoor reinstatement, many still feel that the military has a business in government, and so they're trying to get that global support and maybe to a way of a kind of a soft landing. Don't forget that some of the military leaders were also fingered in the Darfur crisis and the genocide that took place, and they're looking for a way out. So this explains what is really happening in Sudan at the moment.
Well, does it then appear to you that the people of Sudan believe the agreement signed the agreement Prime Minister Hamdok signed recently is what is good for the country, after all?
I don't think the people of Sudan believe that. They know what a repressive government can be, having been in the throes of an al-Bashir for so long a time, and of course understanding that what they have as a democracy now, a democracy in quotes, is a function of their own struggle, and so the military is trying to hijack that and trying to avoid responsibility for the killings that took place in the protests against al-Bashir in 2019 and the series of killings that took place in the Darfur region. So I don't think the Sudanese would agree that this is the best for them. That's why the military is going all out, looking for global support as a way of getting a backdoor legitimacy for the administration.
Well, the government the people of Sudan want to see is a government that is completely independent of the military. But if the military is still in the picture, will this stop the protest on the streets of Sudan?
Definitely it won't. It will not stop the protest. Like I said earlier in my opening remarks, the military has been in serious contention. The people want, those who were the military brass who were involved in the killings of protesters in 2019 adequately dealt with. And there's this call for justice. So for them, the continuous involvement of the military in governance would create a shield for those military heads or military top brass who were involved in, who gave the call for the killings of protesters. So they know definitely well that this is just a ploy to avoid what you could call, to avoid responsibility and, find a subtle way of exonerating themselves from what has happened. This will continue regardless of whatever global support, and I doubt that anyways. Whatever global support this military junta gets, it will not stop the people of Sudan from demanding a return to democratic process.
Right. Let's see the role the global, the global community, such as the United Nations, will play in restoring democracy back to Sudan. Global Affairs Analyst Amuda Mosigbodi, thank you so much always for speaking with TVC News.
Most welcome.